All right, so let's talk about what we looked at last lesson. So last time we were together, we started to look at standard deviation. So can you find where you were writing that information down, please? Can you also get your scientific calculator out? Because you're going to need it. What happened when you woke up this morning, Jack? What happened when you woke up this morning today? Yeah, and then did nothing else by the looks of it. There you go.
So I got wrong with my calculator.
You what?
My friend's case in the class when you got it.
No, it didn't.
Yeah.
As it goes.
Because you didn't want to give it to me? Thanks. Alrighty. Shh. So last time, if you recall, we started to talk about standard deviation. Okay? And we talked about the idea that standard deviation is a measure of... Good, thank you. It's the measure of the average distance each data point is from the mean. So it gives us a measure of spread. And we looked at how we would calculate that with our scientific calculators. And we put the numbers in and we learned that key sequence, okay? And we will review that key sequence over and over and over again, okay, as we go through before the end of your, before your exam. What I want to do today is show you how you can actually apply the formula and it hopefully will also explain in more detail how the calculator gets the value and what the value means. So you can see that the formula there on the screen. You should have already jotted it down in your notes. Okay? I'm going to rewrite the formula above, but we're going to be working out wrong page, that's why. So I'm going to redraw it. So you recall, this is the data sets that we were talking about last lesson. Right? We were talking about two sets of numbers that have the same range, they have the same mean, but they have different standard deviations. Okay? So what we're going to do this afternoon today, and we'll continue this work on Monday and into next week, is looking at how we can measure spread and what that all means. Okay? And so what I would like you to do is to create yourself in your notes a table that looks like this. I'm going to write the formula up here. Yeah?
Draw that table.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
So you didn't take my worksheet.
Oh, you didn't give it to me. There's a big difference. Thank you. All right, so the formula's back up there, but could you jot down the table? Basically, it's just the data. Tim, you good, mate? Can I help you with something? Sure? All good? Okay, no worries. Because we don't have a lot of time left, so I want to try and get as much of this done before you go. And we'll finish it on Monday before we start in the quartile. You'll notice I've left the columns, column headings blank. Of reason for that, I want to go through the formula and explain how we generate the table, and hopefully when you're required to do it, you'll remember what to do. Whilst you're doing that, I'll just bring you around your homework sheet. Okay, as I said, this doubles as your revision, right? Because the stuff that's on here will be on the exam. I'll come back again.
Yeah, no, I didn't know what they said.
It's x minus b.
Yeah, I'm going to go through it. I am going to go through it. That's x minus x bar. All squared.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, that's fine. X bar.
I need to associate.
When you went to work,
They're always due Friday. We try and give you Friday, due Friday. Okay, have we got the table there? Okay, I'm just going to rewrite the formula a little bit bigger and more neatly so you can see it. Okay, so we are already aware that the symbol for standard deviation is sigma. Okay, so the formula says this. Now, don't stress about it because it is in your formula sheet. Okay, so it's a squared. Okay, so let's remind ourselves about the components of what these symbols mean before we go any further, okay? So, what is the symbol with the bar across the top of it? Mean. That's the mean, right? What does this X represent? The data, right? All the pieces of data, okay? What's this symbol? Sum of. What's this little 2 mean? Square, okay? Bleedingly obvious, but again, I'm trying to be bleeding obvious. What's the N? Number. So in this case, it'll be equal to what? 7. There are 7 pieces of data. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So in this case, N. And what's this big thing? Square root. Okay, so that's what we've got, okay? So if you were to use this formula, and you've only seen it flashed up before and you have never seen it before, but knowing the mathematics that you know, what do you do first in any formula that looks like that? The brackets. We need to do what's inside the brackets. We do brackets first. Yes, we're going to substitute, you're right, but what part of it do we do first? The brackets. So we're going to do this bit inside the brackets. So what do you think that says to do? Subtract what? The mean from what? Each number. So that implies we need to know what the mean is, correct? So, do we recall the formula for mean? So mean is, so the first thing we need to know is what is the mean. So in order to use this formula, we need to know the mean. So the mean is add up the numbers, divided by 7. Okay, so 1 and 7 and 8. 8, 12 is 20, 35, 55, 57, 77, 5, 105. Sum. It's called sigma. It means sum of, add up. Is it 105? Can someone confirm that, please? Yeah? Thank you. Shh. Focus, please. And I think we've worked out the mean last lesson was 15 anyway, did we not? Yeah. Okay? We worked it out before, the mean was 15. But again, it doesn't always work out that way, so we need to make sure that we've calculated the mean. That's the first thing. And why do we need to calculate the mean? Because the formula has mean in it. Right? If the formula has mean in it, it means we need the mean. Okay, so as we spoke a moment ago, first thing we do, work out the mean. Done. Second thing we do is subtract the mean from each of our data points. So, in the first column, I'm going to do the first part of this formula, right? So that's the first part of my heading is x minus x bar. It can be, it will be. In the first few numbers, it's going to be negative. That's fine. We've got to keep the negative. We'll worry about that in a second. Okay? So, effectively, and you don't have to write in each sum, but I'm going to do it because this is the first one we've done. Okay? So that simply means 1 minus 7, 7 minus 7, 12 minus 7, 15 minus 7, 20 minus 7. Again, you don't need to write these in. Why am I saying 7? I know. I said 7 because that was the next number in the column and I was thinking ahead. I'll try again. 1 minus 15, 7 minus 15, 12 minus 15, etc. All you need to do is work out what those equal. Okay? Please try and focus. I literally want 15 minutes of attention. That's all I'm asking for. Okay, so that's negative 14, negative 8, negative 3, please focus on what we're doing, 5, 7, and 12.
He's going to 30, so
13. It's because I can't do math, stop picking on me. All right. Now, before we go any further, I want to explain why what is the next part of the formula tell us to do? No. Squaring. Okay? Think about our order of operations. Order of operations say you do brackets first. So in the formula, we've done the brackets first. Beauty. Second thing we do in order of operations is anything else, like powers and things, right? Then we add, subtract, then we multiply, divide. Okay? This is an add subtract, this is an add instruction, right? This is a square. So in the order of operations, we square first before we add. Now, what happens if we don't add, if we add first? Let's see what happens if we did that, right? So first thing I want you to do is, just with your calculator, as quickly as you can, add up these numbers, including, so some of them are negative, some of them are positive. Just add them up for me. Tell me what you get.
All of them.
Yeah, all of them, yeah. What does it come to? 0? Interesting. So let's say we did that and we get 0. So round them up. What's 0 squared? 0. What's 0 divided by 7? 0. What's the square root of 0? 0. So having a standard deviation of 0, that tells me that the average spread away from the mean is 0. That means that every single number is the mean. Is that the case?
No.
No. Okay. Now, does it mean you'll always get 0? No, but you pretty much get very close to it. So sometimes, depending if your mean is a decimal, you'll have to round off, right? So sometimes when you round off, right, you might get a number really close to 0, but it won't be quite 0. But even then, once you square that, and then square root, divided by 7, and then square, it's going to be a really small number, right? Look at our numbers. We're going from 15 out, well, I think we calculated the other day that our standard deviation's around 8 from memory, right? I think we wrote down, it's about 8 for this set of data set. 8.5, right? So if you get a number that's really small, it's not going to seem right. So we need to square first, and then we add. So the reason we square, and then we square root later, they cancel each other out, but what we're doing is getting rid of the negative sign. Okay? We just want to get rid of the negative sign. So what I want you to do is the next step. So the next step is literally square each number. So negative 14 squared, negative, so what's, so remember, negative number squared is a positive number. So in this column, all numbers are positive. If you ever get a negative number in this column, you've made a mistake, pardon me, you've made a mistake.
So do you just make them positive?
No, negative 14 times negative 14 is positive. It's not that we make them positive. By squaring a negative number, negative times a negative is a positive number. It's going to be positive anyway. What I'm saying is that what tends to happen is people square a negative number and forget to actually square the negative part. So, yeah, you will get a positive answer. You don't make them positive, they just become positive. Yes?
Yeah, so you can't use the square button.
Yes, you can.
Because on here, if you do like...
Yeah, okay. We've had this.
Oh.
You've got to put it in brackets. Okay. We have had this conversation before. Shh. Thanks. If I square... Right? If I square a number, right, that becomes 196. So I put this, we've had this conversation multiple times. If you're going to use your calculator and you're going to square a number, you must put the number in brackets. If you don't, your calculator is doing order of operations. It's doing the squared first, right, which gives you 196, and then it's multiplying it by negative 1. Because negative 14 is actually, in your calculator's mind, negative 1 times 14. So it's actually doing this first, and that's why you get negative 196. That's wrong, but your calculator is right because that's what you've told it to do. You've got to put it in brackets. Okay? So, are we okay that we've got these numbers? Right? So now we've got our numbers. What does the formula tell us to do? Add them up. Right? So we're going to use our formula to do this. So our sigma is going to equal the square root of. So what is the sum of that column? I'm just going to move this over out of the way for a minute because I want to write this in down here. Whoops. What did you say it was? 512. Can you guys, everyone else, just make sure you get the same thing, please? Okay, and so now we can use our formula. The formula says, so if we look at the formula which is at the top of the screen, Can we see that now we've done the whole top line? Right, so we've done the subtraction, we've squared each number, and then we've added them up. So these two columns create the whole top line for us, as long as we add them up. So my formula down here now, what's going to go at the top of this vinculum? What number's going to go up here?
Oh, 500.
512. What's going to go at the bottom?
7.
7. Work it out.
And that is 8
I know, shocking, isn't it? What a surprise.
Same.
I know you're surprised with that answer.
No surprise.
I know.
Clearly you know something.
Oh, because you got to square root it.
Have you broken it?
What is wrong with this?
What the F is this?
Why are you still in this job?
Oh,
Go back with
Bullshit.
And you just go square root.
You go shift.
Wait, like 12. Put in 7. That's all.
It was set up. Okay. Do we see 8.55?
Yeah.
Right, so that's the process. That's how we do standard deviation with the table. Right? The formula, what I'm trying to get you to see here is the formula tells you what to do. Like every formula you've ever learned. Every formula you've ever learned from area of a rectangle right through to now tells you what to do. Right? It says do the brackets first. Subtract the mean from the data. Right? It then says square that. That's not done. Then it says to add them up. That's not done. Then put them in the formula. So 512 divided by 7 is my standard deviation. So your task is to do the same thing with the other set of data. That's your homework for Monday. This sheet that I've given you is due Friday, like typical. And this is good because I'll give you one. These are also saved in OneNote under the appropriately named homework folder. Right? So what I'd like you to do, the bell goes shortly. What I'd like you to do is have a go at the second table and practice what you just did. Okay? That's what you do. You don't have to. You can.
It's homework.
Where are you going to be? Where are you going? What's wrong with you? Oh, really? Okay. For what purpose?